everybody. Welcome to Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. I am Lauren Blanchard Zaleski, and if it is your first time here, welcome. I come to you each Thursday at this time to bring you, just some, wisdom, hope, inspiration to help us get through our lives of struggle with gratitude. Gratitude is usually the main component of our episodes, and I bring you an expert guest each week to help us find that place of gratitude despite struggles such as chronic pain and illness. I run a group on Facebook called Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, which many of you I know are a part of. If you're not a member, we would love to have you join us. You do not have to have physical pain to join us. Pain is pain, as I was just telling. We have an incredible guest tonight. I am so excited about. Kevin Monroe is his name, and he does some amazing things. He's a fellow gratitude spreader, so I can't wait to introduce him to you all. We're an interactive show, and I come to you live because we really like engagement from our audience. So please feel free to comment, ask questions of our guest. He's a really open, fun, authentic, genuine soul who you guys are going to just love. It's got a very infectious laugh also. So please feel free to comment. I try to get as many comments on the screen as possible. Before we get started with Kevin, I'd like to thank our guest from last week, Gurma Bishaw from the Gratitude Initiative in the UK. He was an amazing guest, had such great response to him. Thanks to all of you. Because he's in the UK, we came at a special time. So thanks to all of you who were able to tune in live. And let me show you who's coming up. We have some amazing guests coming up too. So next week, we have a little programming change. It was supposed to be Mary Beth Salmons, the author, and she had to reschedule. So I actually got another fantastic guest. Her name is Dr. Carrie Howells of Australia, and she wrote this incredible book. I mean, incredible, called Untangling You. How can I be grateful when I feel so resentful? And her work and research and writing is all about how resentments against others and ourselves, how you can have gratitude despite that, and how you can get over that. So I can't wait to have her on. I was so excited to meet her. Then the next week, February 3rd, Alon Joseph is coming to us. He's from South Africa, I believe. Kevin, my guess, is nodding yes. So he's coming on. We're going to be talking about gratitude and the power of you. The following week, February 10th, Amy Flores-Young is going to be on. There are studies that show that experiences versus stuff, we are more grateful for our experiences, vacations, things like that. So we're going to be talking about experiences and gratitude and how experiences shape our gratitude. She's a special travel planner for those living with chronic pain and illness. It's going to be a really interesting and cool episode. And then the following week, February 17th, author AJ Jacobs, very famous author and TED speaker. He wrote this great book called Thanks 1,000, where he goes through thanking everybody responsible for his cup of coffee. And for those of you who are gratitude addicts, you know exactly who he is, because he's got many famous books, but that one in particular. Without further ado, let me bring on our guest. His name is Kevin Monroe. He hosts Gratitude Challenge. He has these twice a month gratitude encounters that are free. His latest endeavor is an app called 30 Days in the Power of Gratitude. Let me bring him on. Kevin Monroe, thank you for being with us.
Oh, Lauren, thank you for having me and the invitation to be here, and welcome Attitude of Gratitude fanatics.
Yes, we are gratitude fanatics. I met Kevin on LinkedIn, which is a relatively new thing for me. I kind of put off doing it for a while because I thought it was like business people, which it kind of is. But when my book came out, I thought I better go on here. And it turns out I've met so many fellow gratitude spreaders on there. Like, I think you were one of the first ones. And I love the work you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I love the work you do. And gosh, it's just wonderful when gratitude spreaders connect with one another. I trust you found this, Lauren. There is no competition in the gratitude business.
You're right. There isn't.
Alon, that's joining you in a couple of weeks, is a dear friend, has become a
Yes.
dear friend that we met on through LinkedIn.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and Carrie Howells, that's coming next week, is another friend that I've met through LinkedIn. So,
Yeah, I was amazed. I thought, I met everybody through I kind of my big joke with each week is that I find somebody and I stalk them. It's usually a book or a doctor or something like that. I guess I sort of stalked you, but yeah, there's many, many people. Oh, I love the mug,
yeah.
gratitude mug. So Kevin, tell us about you've got a very, very powerful story
Mm.
about how gratitude entered your life. Do you want to share that with us?
Sure. Oh, I'm delighted to. And wow, and Lauren, you out there that are listening, join. I love engaging. So I know you have a lot of folks texting in or messaging in. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. You and I, what you said a few moments ago, we were talking pain is pain.
Yeah.
Um, right now, my wife's dealt with some chronic pain, back pain, hip pain, but uh, a few years ago, I've had chronic pain. I've had some back pain, but what really happened to me, and I dug out my journal the other day that had this in it, but it was April 17th, specifically 2018. So that's soon going to be 4 years,
Mhm.
Lauren. But I've had a few bouts, three and a half bouts. I think that was a half bout of depression in my adult life. And that's pain. That's
It is
emotional
pain.
pain, but it's pain. But there was a morning, uh, April 17th, that I could not drag my fanny out of bed that morning. And I'm a guy that's usually up between 4:30 and 5 without an alarm clock. I mean, that's for decades now.
Yeah.
Um, that morning, I couldn't get up. Didn't wanna get up, just, pulled the covers over my head, and so it's like 7:30. I mean, and that's really sleeping. That's like for others, that would be midday for noon for
Same for
you.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like sleeping till noon. But 7:30, 7:45 in the morning, I finally get out of bed, drag myself into the office, uh, and I prefer to think of them as a morning rhythm rather than routine. And
Hmm.
and part of my morning rhythm, there are things I do almost every morning or pretty much every morning. And prayer, meditation. Now it's sitting in silence for a period of time, reading something, those kind of things. So that morning, there was nothing there that I wanted to do, but I opened up my journal because I had reconnected with a mentor 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I'd have to do the math. And he had encouraged me, challenged me actually, Kevin, would you pray 15 minutes a day? And he said, now when I mean pray, I mean sit in silence and listen, not, you know, talk to God for 15 minutes and just give him your Santa list. And I'm like, gosh, man, I haven't prayed 15 minutes in the last 2 years. What are you talking about? I mean, so is this thing, but I started and I just sit. And that morning, April 17th, was day 744 of that journey. So I guess I'd begun it 2 years before. So I guess this is 6 years of that now. Um, and there was nothing that wanted to come out, right? I had nothing to say. And I was just blah. You know that feeling,
Oh,
Lauren?
yeah, I
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely know it, yeah.
And I was in what I would call liminal space, half asleep, half awake, falling in and out of sleep, consciousness, right? So I just sit on the floor, and I probably end up, I know, not probably, I laid down on the floor, in and out of sleep. But this was the only thing, or the last thing I wrote. Spirit, you are the creative spark of the universe. Spark creativity in me.
Hmm.
That was my prayer, because there was just nothing else that would come.
But that came out of you just out of nowhere.
Out of desperation, right? And I wrote it. I mean, I wrote it. It's in my journal. Lauren, 45 minutes later, I kind of sat up erect, and there was an idea that was 85, 90% fully formed. Host a 90-day journey. Now, there were a lot of things about 90 days at that time. There were folks that were calling it the 90-day year. So I don't know, but all of that's in my mind.
They say it takes 90 days to start a new
Yeah.
habit, right? Yeah.
So, but I had this idea to call it the extraordinary experiment, because I don't know about you watching us, Lauren. I don't know about you. People look at people like you and me and they go, oh, you're pretty extraordinary. Well, when I look in the mirror, I see an ordinary guy.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, as ordinary as they come. I grew up in a very small town in the southeast part of the United States of America. There were two kids in our family. We didn't even have the white picket fence, but just it was as average as it could be. And so I just always felt like I'm an ordinary guy. I love saying this. I mean, ordinary or maybe below ordinary intelligence. I don't know. Years ago, I had a business partner that asked me about Mensa. Do you know Mensa? I'm like, no. She goes, I didn't think so, right?
Oh.
And I
For
was
those of
always
you that don't know, Mensa is like a
the
group
smart
that
society
for
is what
very
I call it.
intelligent people. Yes.
I didn't
It's
even know what
terrible.
Mensa was, Lauren. I was always the last picked for
Oh.
sports competitions. I was kind of short, too tall to be a jockey, too short to be a basketball player, too chubby to be fast for anything else. So I was always chosen last, but I always wanted to have this extraordinary impact in life, for it to matter that I had lived, to make the world a better place. I mean,
Mhm.
seriously, I think I said this to you before. I don't know if it was from growing up in the 60s, as a kid, in the 70s, and the Coca-Cola commercial on the hill in Switzerland, I'd like to teach the world to
Yeah.
sing in
Yeah.
perfect. I don't know. But from the time I was a teenager, I wanted to make the world a better place. So we had this idea. Let's do 13 weeks of experiments. That's why we called it the extraordinary experiment. If you do these little things, might your life become a little more extraordinary? And week one was just the awareness challenge, inviting people to be aware of what was going on around you, rather than, most of us just live in some kind of fog.
Yep.
It's self-absorbed fog. We're doing our thing. Back when people commuted, they haven't done that for a couple of years now,
No.
but back when people commuted, people would be absorbed in a book, their phone, magazine, newspaper, something, and they don't even know there are people around them. So it started with that. Well, week 6 of these 13 weeks, we called the gratitude challenge. And Lauren, honestly, it was the first time in my life that I really pondered, is there a difference between being thankful and being grateful? Because on Monday, we'd drop a video. And then on Wednesday, we'd come back in with some additional tips, tools, resources. And then on Friday, we just asked people to reflect back on the week. Look back. What did you discover in this week's experiment? And we did 13 weeks. We had 274 people join us from 28 countries. And I'm like blown away at that. And 247 people completed the 13 weeks. And I
Wow.
still hear from several people, but one of those is in South Africa that I still hear from. And she tells me about what's going on in her life and what started that week or that period of time, the extraordinary experiment.
Wow.
But that week on gratitude, that was my awakening. Right. So that was, and so it started with this kind of, this coming out of depression, or on the verge of depression. And then this thing of just doing extraordinary. But the real catalyst that came out of that for me was the focus on gratitude. Then, Lauren, and I remember some dates, not all dates. I mean, when I say this, people go, gosh, you remembered it. I just happen to remember some. June 17th, 2019. I had a guest that was coming on. I don't know. Do you know Steve Ferran? He's written the
Yeah,
book.
he's coming on in March, actually.
Awesome. So Steve's a friend of mine. Steve was coming on my podcast to talk about his book.
I'm the guest contributor on his daily
Ooh,
this
love it.
week.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I've been reading those. I'm like, duh. Yeah, I know that. So I call Steve up, call him on the phone, old school. Hey, Steve, I have this idea. June 17th. Want to host a gratitude challenge in conjunction with the podcast? And he goes, and I thought he'd ask me all kind of questions, have all kind of excuses. Goes, count me in.
Really?
Yeah, count me in. So I called another friend, Christy Kern, that's been a partner with me in every endeavor I've done in the last 6 years now. I said, hey, you want to do a gratitude challenge? She said, count me in. So we jumped on the phone or Zoom later that day, and we sketched out, what would this look like? We had no idea, Lauren. We were trying to figure out what is a long enough time that people could experience a difference, and a short enough time that people would stick with it and complete. Because
Right.
one thing I learned, 90 days was a bit long for
Yeah.
people to continue.
It is.
So
Yeah.
we ended up on doing a 10-day gratitude challenge.
That
And
seems doable. I mean, you say 90 and people are gonna glaze over, but
yeah,
10 feels doable for
10
sure.
10 was doable.
Yep.
And so then it's like, well, how do we do this? And then 2 days later, June 19th, 2019, I have this idea. There's an artist that will create original artwork for the gratitude challenge. I'm like, I don't know any artist. And I didn't. The thought would not leave me alone. And at 7:33 that morning, and I took a screenshot of the text, the tweet sometime later. Didn't do it at the time, but I just tweeted. Hey, just curious, is there an artist willing to join a gratitude challenge and create original artwork? Can be hand drawn, computer generated. Reply or DM if interested. And just let it go, right? Just put it out there in the universe. 8 hours later, a friend of mine, Gary Turner in the UK, retweeted it and tagged 3 artists. The first one says, "Gosh, I do fine arts. This sounds fun, not my medium." Second one says, "I'm starting a gallery show in Berlin. I'd love to do this. I do gratitude." And like, nah, you're too busy. You did catch that word, willing to contribute. This wasn't a commissioned project, right? The third person, the third person goes, almost didn't reply because I'm not an artist. I just draw sketches. But what the heck? She replied. And she ended up creating artwork. And she said to me, "So how many sketches do you want?" I'm like, "I don't know." Because I mean, Lauren, I had no idea. I said, 10? We're doing, she goes, "Well, what if I do 10, an image for each day and an overall campaign image?" Like, cool. So we did that. So we've got, to run this 10-day challenge, we've got these prompts that we were going to use to kind of get people to think differently. So we start this and we have 100 and no, let's see. We announced this July 2nd is when we announce it. And we're going to launch on July 8th. Then I start thinking about how stupid that is, right? You're going to launch something the week of July 4th, which is like a really big holiday here in the States. Thought, well, if we could get 100 people signed up by Friday, that would be enough to have because we did a data sort. We asked people when they came in, we assessed where they were. 10 days later, we took another reading of them, self-assessment.
I don't even know what that means. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, we just asked people to kind of score where they were, and we had some
okay,
criteria.
Gotcha.
Well, what we saw were 43% of the people that joined us had a dramatic improvement in their outlook on life, right? So that was what we did. Well, so Friday we have 100 people signed up. And then on Saturday, a friend of mine catches wind of this. He goes, "Hey, can I share this with some friends?" I'm like, "Sure." Well, his friends is a global HR group. And between Saturday at noon and Monday at noon, an additional 190 people sign up for the challenge.
Wow.
So we have 290 people to sign up. We ran it as a closed cohort. Now on Tuesday, we have 100 people on a wait list.
Wow.
And then it was like,
now remind me, what year was this?
This was 2019.
So it's pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic. 2019, we have 100. And then we're like, well, what are we doing? Like, I never imagined doing it twice. Like, I guess we do it again because there are people wanting it. Lauren, that's how I got into the gratitude work. I mean, it just
and now
grew.
you're doing it twice a month.
Well, now
right?
it's evolved. I do different things, but like here's what some of the artwork my friend Kat created. So we call this the Sesame Street Challenge.
Oh, cute.
And then on the back, it's got a prompt. And on the back, we say the Sesame Street Challenge. Choose a letter of the alphabet and make a list of things you're grateful for that begin with that letter. Why not work your way through the whole alphabet? And then we've had people that have joined us and they do it with a friend, and I'd say, "Hey, Lauren, let's do the ABC challenge. I'm grateful for apples. I had an apple this afternoon for a snack." And then you'd do a B, and then we'd come back C. We'd work our way through the people were doing stuff like that, Lauren.
We do that we do that periodically in the group. We call it the Alphitude Challenge.
Yeah.
Each day we'll do a different letter. Yeah, it's fun.
So one thing led to another, and I'll just give you one more date, and then we'll go wherever you want to go. September 10th, 2020. So, like many people, my business evaporated during the pandemic. I used to be a conference speaker and workshop leader, and nobody was having conferences or workshops, right?
Yeah, that would happen.
And September 10th, 2020, I was on my morning walk, and a question just came through my mind. And it kind of helps if you know that on the Strengths Finder, I'm a learner, right? So learner's one of my top strengths. So the question was, of all of the things that energize and excite you, what is the one thing that has the broadest appeal and the greatest impact? And Lauren, instantly, I knew my answer was gratitude.
Yeah.
And that day, I made a pivot. and said, I'm going all in on gratitude work. And from that day to this day, that's what I've done. And so it's just one thing leads to another.
Well,
There
yeah.
is no grand strategic plan. It's very organic.
Yep.
An invitation arrives like a year ago, January, or a year ago, December. I met a guy who was a guest on his podcast, and he said, hey, we've got this platform. Would you like to do a gratitude challenge on it? And I'm like, sure. And they called them 30-day challenges. And Lauren, that was a little weird for me because I was already doing a 10-day challenge. I couldn't just call it 30-day challenge because people would say, what's the difference? I go,
Right.
20 days, right? It's like, it has to be better than that. It has to be different. What's something that's substantively different? And I'm in quiet time. Think about it for 2 weeks. I do a lot of walking every day, take walks. Somewhere in there, this phrase landed. And we call it 30 days in, I-N, capitalize the I-N, the power of gratitude. Lauren, I had no idea how appropriate, how prophetic, whatever words you want to use, prescient, that label would become, because that's what we invite people into. And so where my journey's taken me, and I'm talking way too much. I want to
No,
get
you're
into
doing
conversation.
great. You're doing great.
But where my journey has taken me, and I do these gratitude encounters, the big idea of a gratitude encounter is this: gratitude experienced is better than gratitude explained. All right. It does no good to have somebody come and do a workshop on the benefits of gratitude and not invite you to express gratitude at all,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You go, oh, well, that's really good. It releases oxytocin and endorphins, and all of these things happen in your brain and in your body. Good to know. I've got
Yeah.
notes on that. Maybe I'll come back to that sometime in the future. We just do just the opposite. We go, hey, we want to invite you to explore, express, experience gratitude.
I love
So let's
that.
just do this. Hey, Lauren, what are you grateful for today? What is something fresh today? Because I know you get this. What's something fresh today that just you go, wow, I'm grateful for that?
Oh gosh, well, I had 3 meetings with some new friends today who I've met. I took a shower today. I've got you
Oh, you
here on
mean you
my
had hot
boat.
water?
I had hot water. It was clean water,
Right,
and
when
I
you start
never
thinking
have
about your
to.
friend AJ that starts coming, all of a sudden, hey, let's dial that back. You had hot water. Oh, what does it take to have hot water? Running water comes to your house. Oh, you have electricity that heats the
Right.
water. Right? You go,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. He's for those of you that may have missed the beginning. So AJ Jacobs is going to be a guest on the show in a few weeks. He wrote this book called Thanks 1,000, where he goes through and thanks. He's looking at his cup of coffee one morning. His son actually tells him he should thank the people, and he goes through like all the way down to Colombia to thank the coffee grower. It's a really, really inspiring, cool book. So
It's
yeah, it
amazing.
talks
And
about
we can do
six
that with
degrees of
everything.
you can do that with everything. He calls it 6 degrees of gratitude, I think.
Yeah.
And so you can be grateful for that water, like you said, but then think back on it. You can be grateful to the plumber for the plumbing, rust-free plumbing in your house. The fact that, you have town or well water, the filtration system for the water. So gratitude on the surface is fine, but if you can really just dig back, peel those layers of the onion off, right? And that's, like you said, gratitude experienced. I shared in I do a good night episode not broadcast it post in my group each night, and I shared
Beautiful.
that last night that we can talk and we can know that we need to express gratitude. We know that we need to do a practice, but it doesn't work unless you actually put it into motion. You have to
Doing it,
walk
right?
the walk and not just talk the talk, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Can we and I don't know how you feel about this. I think I can guess. But hey, I journal. I have nothing against journaling. So please don't hear that Kevin is against journaling. Please don't hear that. I journal my gratitude first thing, or that's part of my morning rhythm. I write at least 3 things I'm grateful for. Sometimes it's 5, 7, right? Sometimes the list grows. And I started numbering that list, and I know this morning I went over number 5,900. So I've come up
Wow.
with 5,900 things over a period of years that I'm grateful for. Lauren, I'm the guy that used to have a short list of 3 things that I recycled through every day, right? Because
Yeah.
I had a mentor 20 years ago that said, before your feet hit the floor when you get out of bed in the morning, think of 3 things you're thankful for. Well, my wife, my home, my job, or my family, my home, my job. I mean, that was pretty much it every day. Well, then somebody says, "Can you be a little more specific?" I'm like, "Okay, Gwen, Josh, Lindsay, I mean, but can you be a little more specific? What is it about your wife that you really love and appreciate? What is it that makes you smile, makes you laugh? And you go, oh, let's go deeper with that, right? So when I say I'm not against journaling, but if journaling is the extent of your gratitude practice, if you think, hey, I got to write down 3 things, 5 things in a book every day, check off, I've been grateful today. I'm going to say, I'm not sure if you've really tapped into the power of gratitude yet.
I totally agree. Totally agree. It's a great start. It's a great thing to
It's a
do.
great start.
I think, community, I'm a really big proponent of connection and community with gratitude. And so you do this in various ways. So let's take some comments from guests first. And
Yeah,
then there's so
please.
much I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Thanks to all of you for being here. Hello, Christine Malloy is here. Hello. Thank you for tuning in.
Hello, Christine.
Hi, Jill Cook.
Hey, Jill Cook.
The Facebook users, if you're watching from in the group, if you don't sign in, it comes up as Facebook user for
Hello,
privacy
Mary.
reasons. Hi, Mary. Thanks for being here.
Kay Clancy from Australia. Thanks for being here,
Your
Kay.
vibe attracts your tribe. Welcome to our tribe, Kay. Pamela Creighton. Hi, thank you for being here. Kevin, thanks to Lauren for extending the invite.
Hello, Pamela.
And this one refers to you going through the motions. We've all been there.
Going through the motions.
Yes. Before we get into what we do, so you went from this place of darkness and black. And so would you say, is it safe to say that through your new endeavor with gratitude, you started coming out of it and seeing?
Yeah. So, but can I be clear?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't have bad days.
Of course. Yes.
And it doesn't mean that darkness doesn't seek to come back in. So today is, I did this earlier in a session. I think if I have my math right, today is day number 678 of the global pandemic, Lauren.
Oh, wow.
It was 678 days ago today, March 11th, 2020, when the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic.
Wow.
And there's a lot of doom, gloom, and darkness in the world today, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of despair. And okay, my favorite movie, It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart. Watch it every Christmas. Yeah, and Gwen, my wife, looks. Are you crying? You cry at this part every day? Yeah, I do. Right. I mean, I can't even tell you how many. I wrote a paper on this movie in grad school. I just love the movie. But if you remember the opening of the movie, and it's done in the 40s, so they're just stars twinkling in heaven, and you hear a conversation. You guess it's God and some angels. You hear prayers or petitions going up for this guy named George Bailey, and then they call in Clarence, the bumbling angel that's never gotten his wings, and they say there's a man on earth. He's in trouble, and Clarence goes, "What? Is he sick?" And the angel goes, "No, worse. He's discouraged." And it sets up the whole movie. Wow. How many of you, I think I'm talking to people who've known discouragement.
You certainly I can talk for all of them. Yes.
Yeah. We've known discouragement, right? And that's
Losing
a really
hope.
dark place to be when there is no hope. So,
Yeah.
Lauren, I learned, I have a new old word. I stumbled on this 2.5, 3 weeks ago in a post from the UK in the Guardian paper. And I just said, the world there is a blanket of despair in 678 days. There is a blanket of despair. You and I, we know despair. You watching, you know despair.
Yep.
We have felt despair. Do you know the word respair? R-E-S-P-A-I-R.
I don't think I do.
Came into the language in the years 1500. One entry was the only in the year 1512. There was only one entry in the dictionary, respair. the recovery of hope after a period of despair.
Oh my. I'm going to be asking you about that one after the episode. That's beautiful.
And gratitude is what leads us to despair. Out of despair, right? We may be sinking in despair. And all of a sudden, when we start finding things to be grateful for, choosing things to be grateful for, even in our worst days, there is something we can find, we can choose to express gratitude for.
Right.
And that begins to lead us out of despair and into despair.
I love that word, despair. That's
Isn't that a beautiful word?
That's really what we're all striving for, in my opinion. You know, we are in these really difficult times, and I see it. I'm really starting to see it lately so much with our teens and our kids, which is ironic, since I wrote the 5-minute gratitude journal for teen boys, and I didn't realize the extent of it when I started that project. And now, New York Times had an article out a couple of weeks ago talking about the suicide rates and all for teens over the past 2 years. It's just heartbreaking. But I think it just in general, as a culture, we're in despair. And you're right, gratitude can lead us out. And sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. Maybe you're not feeling all that grateful, but we can rewire our brains that default to the negative. We have a negative bias that is natural.
All right, so let's use that little chart that I sent you.
Yes,
let's talk about that.
We got a chart.
So, I don't know what to call this. We call it the gratitude framework. Lauren, what I will tell you is this is the journey I've traveled. And when I started creating this content for 30 days in the power of gratitude, so that experience, we take people through a 30-day journey. There are 3 mini coaching sessions a week. So I was creating content for that. And I was using this framework, although the framework didn't yet exist, right? I was just talking about my journey. And let me walk you through this and see if you can relate. So for me, I start all way over in the far left. I first learned gratitude as an obligation. I grew up in a rural part of the southeastern United States where I remember, and there were times it involved the wagging of the finger, right? The pointing of the finger. Remember your manners. Remember your manners. And Lauren, there's this one humorous, in my mind, humorous. Okay, so I was a chubby little kid. My dad shaved me and my brother's head every 2 weeks. So we had this, buzz cut. And my parents go out of town for the first time that I ever remember, leaving us with neighbors for the day. And we are over at Mrs. Richardson's house. And I remember my mom leaving that morning. Remember your manners. Remember your manners. So at lunch, Mrs. Richardson prepares me a sandwich, or as we would say in the South, and at that time, she fixed me a sandwich. She fixes me a sandwich. She puts it on a plate. She hands it to me, Lauren. And I look up at her and I say, "You're welcome." And she rubs my fuzzy little head and she goes, "Nice try," But that's that obligation. If gratitude is just this something you should do, it's a command.
Knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. Well, what happens if we fail to follow a command or fulfill a command? We feel guilt. Right?
Shame,
there's guilt.
right?
Well, I don't want people guilty about gratitude, but that's where I started. So that was my first introduction. Well, then maybe we discover gratitude as a hack. Right? There's so many people that present gratitude as a life hack. Hey, having a bad day, practice gratitude. You're in this pain journey and it's a really tough day. You should be grateful, whatever that is. And so that's a remedy. It's a shortcut.
Right.
Now, I'm not against that. Notice it's all on the framework. I'm just saying if your journey with gratitude stops at obligation, you're missing out. If your journey with gratitude stops at hack, you're missing out. Well, then maybe you try to have a practice. You want to be more consistent. So you're looking for a rhythm and routine. And that's where the journals come in, right? You start a journal. Well, then maybe it becomes a habit. You go, I want to have a habit, a daily habit, and you want to have the discipline, and your rhythm and routines become rituals that you don't miss or don't miss too often, right? And so, but what is there more than habit? I think there is. What if gratitude becomes our mindset? What if it becomes our framework for processing, our filter, or peace becomes our operating system? And when something comes, and I keep
I
this
like that.
glass here because this was the glass I had in my hand when I was talking to my friend Shirley Tipton one day. And she said, Kevin, for me, gratitude's like that filter in a cup, that whatever crud comes into my life, I can filter out and still have something to be grateful for.
Oh, I like
Gratitude
that.
is a mindset,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Well, then what if we continue and gratitude becomes lifestyle? And gratitude just becomes our DNA, our identity. And Lauren, 2-3 years ago, this is what happened for me. I had a friend that does work with leaders around the world, and she asked me, would I do a webinar? I'm like, well, sure. What do you want me to do it on? She's like, duh, gratitude. She couldn't imagine me doing anything other than gratitude. And
Cool.
I could think about all these things. And then I realized, if these are the 5 words that are on my tombstone, here lies one grateful fella or fellow, right? Person, man. I can live with that.
Yeah.
Because I've been called a lot of worse things in my life, a lot of other labels that may have fit at the time, right? So one grateful fellow, one grateful person, that's what happens when we evolve into a lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the ultimate for me as well. I love this framework that you came up with. And I love the steps. It is so true, beginning with an obligation and then hearing that gratitude is good for you, the studies and all of that, and viewing it as, hey, maybe if I do this, I can be happier, I can find more joy. I'll turn it into a practice.
Yeah.
Putting that into practice so much so and liking it so much that it does become that habit. And then that habit will likely evolve into a mindset, and the joy just oozes out of you, just even through times of struggle where it becomes your identity and your lifestyle. That's a beautiful framework. I love that.
So that and for me, it was just, oh, this is the journey I'm living. And I'm still living, right? I mean, I'm not all the way there in lifestyle or mindset. And I think there are days that we drop back down, right? And then there are days, we see, but there's more to aspire for.
I had one of those days just yesterday, as a matter of fact.
What happened? You want to talk about
nothing really happened. That's the
Isn't
thing.
that
Nothing
amazing?
really happened. Yeah, but
Okay, so I
we're
had
all
one of those
entitled to
days
those
yesterday
days.
too, Lauren.
What's that?
I had one of those days
Did you
too.
really?
Yeah, and I remember I called my friend Yosef this morning. We're talking. I said, Yosef, I'm in a totally different place today. And you know what? My circumstances didn't change.
Yeah. It's
My
funny how that
situation
happens.
didn't change.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, my perspective changed.
Yeah.
And to me, when we start talking about, there are 2 things I'd really want to make sure we talk about. When we talk about living in the power of gratitude, there are a couple of things that are just so vital to that, to me, in that, for me, to me. One is learning to live in the pause and make the pause a part of life. Right? So I can reach over here and grab probably Viktor Frankl's book. I think it's
Man's Search for Meaning.
How did you know? Yep.
Oh, I know.
Man's Search for Meaning.
I've got
Man's Search for Meaning right here. And you can tell I like this book because look at all I saw you had some flags in a book. I mean, there are my flags in the pause. Viktor Frankl taught there's always a moment between stimulus and response.
One of my favorite quotes. Yeah.
And in that moment, you and I have an invitation, an opportunity to choose how to interpret that, how to respond to that. That's the pause.
Yep.
And for me, so the way I've learned gratitude, the way I invite people, it's pause, notice in the pause, just look around or look back, look within, find something to be grateful for, and then express gratitude for it. However it is, whether you're writing it, whether you're speaking it out, whatever that is, but pause, notice, express. It's a pretty simple process, right?
Yep.
But it starts with the pause.
It does. It has to start with a pause.
Starts with the pause.
Yep.
And then there's another P that I believe, and it's what you and I just talking about this is what brought this to mind. Perspective.
Mhm.
Perspective. So in the month of November, I was blessed to do work with a company. I don't know if I'll just say they're a leading pharmaceutical
You can say
company
whatever you
globally.
want on
You
here.
know,
It's okay.
Pfizer, I'll just say
Okay.
it was Pfizer. Um, I did gratitude encounters for for several of their teams.
Wow, fantastic.
And the word when I use a word cloud, because when I do this, I'm looking for I want to hear what people think, how they are describing an experience. Not my words, their words. And the word that came up over and over and over again, perspective. Perspective. When we pause, we get to have a fresh perspective.
Right.
Wayne Dyer, my favorite quote from Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look
Okay,
at
good.
change,
Yep,
right? That's
true.
perspective.
It
You and
is.
I just said yesterday we had tough days.
Yep.
Today, much better. What happened? Circumstances are pretty much the same. The
Yep.
weather's pretty much the same.
Yep.
For me, it actually got colder here, right? Huh. But my perspective changed. Why? Because I paused.
That's right. That's right.
That's the power of gratitude.
It is. Being able to notice, and that's a message that I share with my group of people with chronic pain, because we can, focus so much on the pain
Yeah.
that we forget to notice things that aren't in pain. And it's easier said than done, of course. And, you can fill in the blank, pain. It could be whatever. Everybody has struggles. It can be depression, anxiety, whatever your struggle is. But, being able to reframe that and give a buffer to that
Yeah.
natural negative bias is
Yeah.
so important. It really works. It may not be, it's not easy, but it is simple.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that distinction as well. I love Einstein that said that, made that distinction. It's not easy,
Did he? Are
but it
you
is
comparing me
simple.
to Einstein?
Oh yeah, I did, Lauren. Yep, yep. Um, so and when we choose to reframe, right? We choose what we want to see. We find something to focus.
Mhm.
So I came up. I love words. I love acronyms. I came up with fog, right? Because a lot of my life, I feel like I'm in fog, right?
Yeah.
Things are cloudy. I'm not sure what to do. And I thought, when I'm in the fog, I choose to focus on gratitude. When things are foggy in life, that's just a good reminder to focus on gratitude. Redefine
Oh,
the
I like that.
fog, right? Take the fog. Life seems foggy right now. What if I chose instead to, rather than lean into the confusion, what if I go, what is one thing? What's just one thing? Because I can always find at least one thing to be grateful for now.
Yep.
And then what if I lean into gratitude for that? And then back to AJ, right? You start thinking, well, that leads to this and that leads to this. And now all of a sudden, there are a multitude of things to be grateful for.
FOG, fog, focus on gratitude. I love
Focus
it.
on gratitude.
That's a really good lesson. For more about Kevin, just want to throw this out there. We're not even close to being done yet. Well, 15 minutes. KevinDMonroe.com. You can find out all about him. So let's talk about your gratitude encounters,
Well,
and
let
your
me ask you
gratitude
something
challenges
first. And maybe those of you that are, how quickly can people type in? I'd love to.
immediately.
I'd love to ask people this because when you go to my website, you will see 3 words there. You will see 3 words there. And I'm going to tell you, I was not the architect that put those 3 words there because I probably didn't have the boldness to put those 3 words there. But working with my marketing genius, Susie, she came back with the website and she goes, here it is. And those 3 words that you see when you go to the website are gratitude changes everything. So on a scale of 0 to 10, type a number. To what degree do you agree with that statement? Right? 0. That's hogwash. I don't. That sounds too good to be true. To 10 being, I've experienced that is true. Where's this group, Lauren? I
Okay.
think I know where you are, but I'll just
Yeah.
ask you, where are
So
you?
the question is,
To
to
what
what
extent
extent,
do
oh,
you
they're
use the
typing in already. To what extent does gratitude change everything? 0 being low,
to what
10 being
extent do
high.
you agree with that statement that
Oh, okay.
gratitude changes everything? Yeah, Christine. Yeah, 10.
Christine,
Pamela, 8.
Pamela,
10.
Mary, 10, Robin. We
Yeah,
got an 8.
8.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Nikki, hi,
Nikki. Hey,
10.
Nikki. Welcome. I'm so glad you're with us tonight.
Yeah,
Nikki's
thank
from
you
New
all
York.
for being here. We got a
Yeah.
7.
7. Yeah.
Pretty up there. You're
Yeah.
pretty up there.
Yeah. So we believe I was talking about exactly about her being stuck in the past, not in the present, for using in the now, and told her to be grateful for her healing now. Yeah.
Oh, I missed the first one. I
Yeah.
apologize, Nikki. Funny, I was talking about pain today with one of my patients,
Okay.
and then this was the follow-up, talking exactly about her being stuck in the past and not the present, freezing in the now. Also told her to be grateful for her healing now. Nikki, have your patient, if she's interested, join my Facebook community. It's called Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain. This is what we do. We're a solution-based group. We have 8,100 people who all choose to live in the solution by focusing on gratitude and things like mindfulness, like Kevin said, practicing the pause, living with intention, and all that. It's a really great, positive place. We'd love to have your patient if she's looking for something like that. As far as I know, we're the only positive-based group on Facebook for people living with chronic pain, which is sad. But
it's sad, but good for you.
yeah,
Good for you.
yeah,
I'm so glad you're out there doing that. 7, 10. Look at these.
10.
Yeah.
Got another
10.
10.
Kate Clancy. Yeah.
Thank you guys all for voting in. Oh, we got live in the solution, says Robin. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so you were asking me a question, but
Yeah.
I wanted to engage people, right? So we are people who believe or have experienced gratitude changes everything. Why? Because gratitude changes me.
Yeah.
Gratitude changes how I see the world. Changing how I see the world then changes how I interact with the world.
It does. It changes relationships in a big way.
Yeah.
I was just reading an article about that just yesterday, as a matter of fact, because when we are feeling more grateful, we tend to be less cynical of people, and we give them the benefit of the doubt. We're more trusting. I mean, it just goes on and on. It really is a snowball effect, and it's certainly not a cure-all, but it
No.
really can make our
Okay.
lives so.
I got one for you.
Yeah, go for it.
I heard myself say this in a group one day. We were just having a conversation. All of a sudden I said, hey, you know what? Gratitude isn't a cure-all, but it is one powerful cope-all.
It is.
It helps us cope with whatever comes our way, but it doesn't cure it.
No.
It doesn't alleviate that. Something else just hit me. Saturday, we were driving through a shopping center, grocery store, because a big snowstorm was supposed to come our way, and we got flurries. But that in the South, that sends everybody to the grocery stores in a panic. But I see a guy walking out, and he had on this t-shirt, breaking news, and then in big letters under that, nobody cares.
Oh.
Yeah, and I thought, no. You know what, buddy? I got news for you. I know people in all parts of the world who care and care deeply, and who are moved by their kindness, their compassion to care for others. And but it broke my heart, Lauren. But I know there are millions of people in our world who feel nobody cares, that they're cynics, they're skeptics.
It's very sad.
And that's why I wanted to ask. But this group of people, those of you with us tonight, we're those people who believe gratitude changes.
Yeah, and that's actually a good springboard for something I know I mentioned I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
So somebody in the group today said that somebody told their gratitude, believer and practicer, and have a positive attitude, and somebody told them that they had toxic positivity and that it was not good for them with their chronic pain. And so she posted that in the group, and she's had many incredible responses, including some quotes that I've written, and some, I referred her to this great article in the Atlantic last year about toxic positivity. But what is your take? What is the difference between gratitude and toxic positivity?
Okay. To me, toxic positivity, and I'm just going to say, there've been several times in my life where I've said stupid stuff like this. Okay. Right. It's when we say something stupid, somebody's in pain, and we just go, hey, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, well, based on what?
Yeah.
Right? No, hey, you know what? Life may really suck for a period of time, but I believe you will get through this and you will be a better, stronger person for going through it. To me, Lauren, that's not toxic positivity.
No.
If you know Admiral Jim Stockdale, Jim Collins wrote about him in his book, Good to Great, which is now 20 something years old. But I heard Jim Collins tell this story, and it was at the Carter Center in Atlanta 20 something years ago. And he said he was walking across the campus with Admiral Stockdale. Admiral Stockdale was the highest ranking official in the Hanoi Hilton. He was in prison for, I think, 7, 8 years.
Oh, wow.
He even disfigured himself so the Viet Cong could not put him on camera to show that no one was being mistreated when he knew his other men in his brigade had been mistreated. So he wouldn't allow himself.
Wow.
But he said to Jim Collins, he said, we can't confuse. He didn't. Toxic positivity wasn't a word then, but it would have been that. We can't confuse the fact that we will prevail in the end, right? We can't lose hope in that. But we're going to go through difficult times. And so the Stockdale paradox was the honesty to confront the current facts of your brutal reality, however brutal they may be, right? But at the same time, believe we will persevere. We will get through this. So toxic positivity is that, just, hey, just ignore that stuff. But I really, it bothers me that just because somebody chooses to be grateful or finds some way to lean into positivity when things are really bad, that there's some people in the world that label that toxic. Toxic is when you deny reality.
That's exactly my thought too. Yeah.
Right?
Denying reality.
But
and in the group, we, rather than, we acknowledge our problem, we accept our problem, and then we find appreciation in our lives despite the problem. And that's how we walk towards, joy and intention. It's not toxic positivity at all. Just, we're not sweeping things under the rug. We're trying to live, joyful lives despite our problems. So yeah, she was obviously very upset about it, but she had a whole slew of members, commenting in with very similar stuff to what you just shared.
Yeah. So here is the Stockdale paradox verbatim. I never lost faith in the end of the story. I never doubted not only that I would get out, but I would also prevail in the end and turn the experience into the defining moment, the defining event of my life, which in retrospect, I would not trade. Right.
And that attitude could have very possibly helped him get through that.
Well, he contrasted this. So Jim Collins said, so who didn't get out? And he goes, oh, that's easy. The optimist. And he goes, what do you mean? Because what you just said sounded very optimistic. But the optimists were people who set arbitrary dates for a release. Oh, we'll be out by Thanksgiving. We'll be out by Christmas. We'll be out by 4th of July. Those dates came and went, and they lost hope and died. But it was this, hey, I'm going to get through this no matter how long it goes. I'm not giving up. So to me, that's the difference between toxic positivity, right? Hey, man, pain hurts. Cancer sucks.
Yep. All of our struggles, fill in the blank, whatever your struggle,
whatever it is.
Life is hard. The pandemic sucks. It does. But we have one life to live. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. And so how do you choose to live your life? Like Viktor Frankl said, you have that moment to decide what your response is, and you have that choice. It is a choice. And then you can do what Kevin shared. You can go through, make it a practice, then a habit, a mindset, and a lifestyle. So you have a couple other slides here.
Show the photograph. Yeah, let's
tell us what this is.
Okay, so you mentioned twice a month. Okay, so this started the first Tuesday in October 2020. I have been hosting gratitude encounters once a month ever since. And then March of last year, started doing it twice a month. So on the first and third Tuesdays of every month at 12 noon Eastern time, I host a gratitude encounter. And this is the photo from this Tuesday's 2 days ago.
Look how happy you look.
Yeah, look how happy. Oh man, I'm beaming. But the lady in the top right-hand corner, I had no idea who she was. She just showed up. At the end, I found out she's the friend of a friend that saw a friend post on LinkedIn. She goes, "Oh, this sounds interesting." But she smiled like that the entire hour. And at some point, I finally said, "Gosh, Shad, Shonda, yeah, you are beaming and filling up the Zoom screen. What's going on? Where's this smile coming from?" She's like, "Oh my gosh, Kevin, I've never done anything like this, and I never make time for myself. I'm just enjoying
That's
this."
profound. A lot of us don't take time for ourselves, and it starts to really chip away at us in a lot of ways. That's beautiful. That
Then
is
and so
beautiful.
everybody there smiling. Look at this. I
Yep.
mean, there's no Zoom fatigue in this meeting, right?
No, they're definitely not.
So
So
go to
the
the other
address, if
one, the
you go
word
to
cloud.
Kevin's website, kevindmonroe.com, I'll put this in the show notes
Yeah.
also. But if you go to free gratitude encounters, so they're the first and third Tuesdays of each month.
Yeah, and you can go in there, and they're on there through April now. I think you can pick the one you want to register for, get the Zoom information. So at the end of every event I do, I use a tool called Mentimeter, and I ask a question or some version of this: what word or phrase best describes your experience? And this was of Tuesday's gratitude encounter. And look at these words. Okay, and so there's misspelling here. Somebody wrote type motivating versus motivating, but sweet connection, refreshing the focus, great gratitude
Delicious.
for this community. The one that stood out to me, I'm looking at all of a sudden, I'm like, delicious, delicious. I've never heard delicious used to describe one of these events before. Hey, with the
Wow.
person who shared delicious, speak about it. My friend Rich Gasson from Wisconsin, he said, "Hey, that was me." He said, "Kevin, I come to these pretty regularly." He said, "But today's was just especially delicious. It was
Wow.
like a scrumptious meal for my soul."
That's fantastic. Wow. And don't we all need something like that in our lives right now? So how long, so you said
They're an hour.
they're at
It's an
noon,
hour.
they're 1 hour. Okay.
And
So
so,
an
so I
hour, a
pick a
free
theme for the
hour
month.
nugget of gratitude, right?
Yeah, I pick a theme for the month, and then the first and the third follow the same theme, and I invite people in, and I guide you into to explore, express, and experience gratitude. We use Zoom. We pick a topic. So this week, what we did this week, we because of the new year, we talked about the threshold edition, entering the threshold of a new year. So we did gratitude in 3 dimensions: past, present, future. And I asked people, what is something you're grateful for from 2021? Pick something. What's something you're grateful for? And then they went into small groups and shared that. And then we said, hey, look around right now. And we just used the word cloud. What's something you're grateful for now in this moment? And then we did pre gratitude. Gratitude in advance for something that's not yet happened. What's a threshold you hope to cross in 2022? What's a blessing you hope to experience? Like my friend Joseph, they found out they're expecting their third child. So now they have this blessing of a child to anticipate in 2022. They have pre gratitude now for this child that will
That's a
be
good
born.
one.
Right? So that's pre-gratitude. Some people, one person said, "I'm grateful." I remember, oh, I won't call her name. She said, "I'm grateful for the new job I'm going to get this year because my job is, sucking the soul out of me. So I'm grateful now." She doesn't have a job yet, but she's expressing gratitude now for the job that she will find and occupy in 2022.
Love it.
Pre-gratitude. So
Love it.
we just do stuff like that, right? And we do these. We pick a topic and we invite people into to reflect and express gratitude around the topic.
So go to kevindmonroe.com. He's got all sorts of wonderful, and so that's free, you said, right?
Free, free.
Unbelievable. Let's we only have a minute left, but there's so many great comments coming in I want to get to.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, you
yeah,
folks.
thank you guys. I love these live. They're not the most produced things in the world, but I like authentic and raw, and I love, love, love comments from the audience. So thank you. Kay Clancy says connections between gratitude and trust. So and she cares. I knew it. Knew it.
Okay, Kay, I'm just going to say this, realistic optimism.
Yep.
I learned, I used to think my superpowers were skills, right? Oh, you're a gifted facilitator. You do this, that, and the other. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I learned my superpower, my real superpower. Kay, you share the same thing. It's caring. It's caring, genuinely caring for people.
And I find that in attitude of gratitude with chronic pain, most people that come to our live chats twice a week, they identify as empaths.
Yeah.
And so we care often more about others' needs than ours, which we try to tackle that also because a lot of us are nurturers. And so we kind of put ourselves at the bottom of the list where we need to put ourselves towards the top. But we do tend to care a lot more about or we care about others a lot. Let's just say that. It's certainly not a group for narcissists. It is a group of people who care about each other. Mary says, so grateful for you, Lauren. Thank you, Mary. Thanks for the chance to find our gratitude. Thank you, Kevin. I love how you are down to earth. It's good to know that even on a tough day, I can find something to be honestly grateful for.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Mary, I celebrate that with you.
There was one up here I wanted to get to. Oh, Linda. Thanks so much, Laura, for this wonderful guest. Wow, he is just a ray of sunshine. I could listen to him for hours. Me too. Me too.
Oh, thanks, Linda. That's so kind of you.
Can we get a reminder on the group page about this? I would love to catch some of these. Absolutely, Robin. I will put it in the group. Let me just put up here one more time just in case. But they're the first and third Tuesdays of each month. You can go to kevindmonroe.com, but I will absolutely put a link in the group, Robin. No problem. Somebody said great clarification on toxic positivity. And Kay's got a quote here: all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Julian of Norwich. I love it.
Julian of Norwich. Thanks, Kay.
Kathleen, thank you both. Very uplifting, helpful and uplifting. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Oh, thank you both. From Christy Malloy. Thank you. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here. Kevin Monroe.
Oh, man. Thank you. Lauren.
I honor what you do as a fellow gratitude spreader. The more that we have that spread this, the better. And you really are a ray of sunshine. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you come back sometime and we'll talk for another 7 hours about gratitude.
Hey, and I thank you all for carving out an hour of your day, an hour of your life that you allowed us to share with you and you shared with us. I'm grateful for that. I don't take that for granted.
Yeah, thank you. I say that all the time. An hour's a long time, especially at this hour. For some people, it's dinner or bedtime. Kevin and I were saying before the episode that we tend to go to bed early. So yes, an hour.
My wife always laughs. She's like, "You're doing a call from 8 to 9. You're usually fading not if I'm talking about gratitude."
Yep, exactly. Kevin, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all so much for being here. I will see you next week. Peace and love. Bye, gang.